Welcome to Living Prevention TV. I want to just direct your attention to our website, which is alternacare.org, and we're here to help people live and know how to live a prevention lifestyle and what that entails. So we're building on our website, we're building an academy so that we help you sort through the confusion and just get to the truth. And we're creating a coaching program so that we can help you in a personal way succeed in living a prevention lifestyle. How much better time could there be to reinvent healthcare, and health insurance than right now? The corona catastrophe, the corona paranoia. I mean, there's a lot of words we could put with corona here at this point in our lives. It's definitely made an epic impression on everyone, as did the Spanish flu 100 years ago. But today what I wanted to talk about was how surviving cancer for me 30 years ago was the wake-up call that I got, that now I think we're all on the same page. I think we're all getting a really big wake-up. And it's not a bad thing to get a wake-up, because a lot of the things that have led to this, just like a lot of things that I had done in my life, were actually the lead-up to the crisis. So Einstein's insanity theory, right, doing the same things expecting different results, is the reason why what cancer did was it showed me the power of change. It showed me the power that we all have when we make new decisions and we get new outcomes. So that was really profound to me, because not only did I know nothing about prevention, I sure didn't have any clue as to how the body worked. And I really didn't have any idea as to how the immune system works, which is the reason why things like coronavirus is what it is today, because of the fact that we have what's called immune compromise. So if that's a term you've heard but you're really not familiar with, think of it simply like if you had to go into a battle, you would want soldiers, right? And in order to win a war, well, you would need an army. Well, this is what our immune system is. It's the army of our immunity, or in other words, it's what protects us from invasive things like a virus or bacterial infection. It protects us from a lot of things. So what we need to do is we need to be able to make sure that our army or our defenses are strong, right? Because if a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, well, our immune system is only as strong as the weakness that it has, right? So if we are immune compromised, that means that we've already lost before we ever got started. That's a very dangerous place to be. That's a place that we don't want to be, because you see, behind coronavirus was SARS, and behind that was Ebola, and behind that was the bird flu. And there's been, every couple of years, there's been another outbreak. Well, if all of our immune systems were strong, it wouldn't matter. No one would be susceptible. I want to talk to you about what I learned when I faced this life-changing diagnosis of cancer. They call it the unthinkable for a reason, because most people don't want to think about what they do or how they would feel if it happened to them, and I was one of those people. And so what I did when I was thrown off the deep end, as life sometimes has a way of doing that to us, what I did though is I was able to have a health coach who was a naturopath, after I was given no medical chance of survival, that really walked me through a lot of the changes that actually had contributed to the crisis. So often we think it's like one thing, like what's the one thing? And I remember as a young person, I remember and I'm dating myself here, but I will just say in the mid-70s, I remember eating dinner and the news was always on, and it seemed like almost every night it was something else that they were attributing to a cause of cancer. And it really just kind of became a bit of a cynicism after a while. It's like, well, what doesn't cause cancer? It was hot dogs cause cancer, and grilled food cause grilling, and blah blah blah. I don't even remember, but I just remember, as a young person, that it really kind of desensitized me, and it didn't make sense why they were always announcing what caused cancer, obviously so that we would avoid it. I got that part, but it seemed rather confusing. And so, when people are confused, well, nothing happens. Change doesn't happen. They call it analysis paralysis when people are confused, and I was one of those people. And so because I was, change didn't really affect me, and it sure didn't affect my thinking. Now, when I faced a life crisis, that was a different story. I had children, and they needed their mother, so I had to make sure that I did everything I could, whatever that took, whatever changes that took. And sometimes when we hear about a diet, or a doctor tells you, well, you've got to change this or that, and we're really resistant to change. And the reason why we're resistant to change is because the way we think. This is the whole reason why we don't change. We first of all think, maybe we can't change. Oh, I'm too old to change. I don't know where to start to change. Well, again, we have to change the way we think, because whatever we believe, we will achieve. When we think something's too hard, we're right. It will be. Just saying it's too hard is already telling us that we're clearly dooming it. So again, going back to why change is challenging. Well, sometimes change is challenging because not only is a habit, but maybe it's an addiction. That's one thing that a lot of us have had to realize about ourselves, that maybe we are an addict to, alcohol, right? Maybe we like to medicate our pain, or maybe we have an addiction to food. Maybe we eat our emotions. Does that ring a bell? How about maybe we're a social eater, right? I know these are some of the challenges I've faced in my life, and I'm still working on them. But, these are the reasons why change is so hard. We're creatures of habit. We get stuck in ruts. And so to think things with a fresh lens, to think things like, I can do this. Yes, I can do this. Like, to think about empowering thoughts is really the first step of change. And it's the reason why things like diets and resolutions don't really work. Because if this doesn't change, then nothing really changes. So we have to work on the way we think. But there's actually even another layer, and that is the layer of the subconscious. So, it's very interesting when we look into the subconscious, because it actually kind of manifests itself not only in the things that we dream about, but it also manifests itself in the conversations that we have with ourselves. Maybe you've heard it called stinking thinking. You ever heard of stinking thinking? Well, the reason why it's stinking thinking is because sometimes we are our own worst enemy. See, sometimes that's where the things like the things that maybe people told us that we internalized, it changed our belief system. So these are the kinds of things that connect an emotion. So when a thought is an emotion are connected, well, it makes change really challenging. So there's a lot of things that we could dive into. Believe me, this is definitely not the final conversation on this topic of why change is challenging, but those are some of the contributing factors as to why change is a challenge for many people. Anyways, and so what I wanted to do is just talk about why things like coronavirus and cancer. Okay, these are issues that just tell us that the same thing is wrong. It doesn't matter the diagnosis. It only matters that the immune system has been suppressed. Or let's say you lived in an ancient times and your whole protection was living inside of a walled city. Okay, so now you know that your protection is those walls, but what if the doors are left wide open? What happens to the protection of the walled city? We know, don't we? Yes, we're completely vulnerable to enemy attack if we were in that situation. So this is why the immune system is the whole reason we are alive today, and it's the reason why we have any measure of health or any measure of concern. We have to have immunity. And you know what's interesting? I read recently something that was just fascinating to me, that we have these trillions, and that's a number that's hard to envision, trillions, but we have these trillions of microscopic, it's kind of like a microscopic library is what I could liken it to. It's where, like in our intestine, we have like the Library of Congress of every virus and every bacteria in existence. And when our immune system recognizes what's coming, it builds immunity because it recognizes it from what it has. So this is the reason why when your immune system is strong and it's working, see the things like, you know, viruses or diseases like autoimmune diseases, the body can self-correct. And so this is really, really important to understand. How do we get the body to self-correct? Well, again, you know, doing a lot of research on this topic, one of the things that I recently came across that just made so much sense is the fact that toxins actually prevent the cells from communicating. Now, when we think about this is a statistic that I also read that was really eye-opening. And I've heard different numbers, so I don't know what the real number is, but I'm going to use the conservative number. Since World War II, petrochemicals have been made and introduced, and all through my childhood and young teen years, there used to be a commercial on TV that said, life made better through chemistry. So it was really promoted a lot. Chemistry was really promoted as being the thing that's going to make the world a better place. But has it? Have these petrochemicals made our bodies, our health, our environment, have they made it a better place? Well, I think we all know the answer, because look at the toxins. Look at the catastrophes that have happened from these petrochemicals to our environment. Well, in our body, this environment, what we have is these petrochemicals that we ingest. And the conservative estimate that I read was 80,000 petrochemicals have been created in the last 75 years, and only a few thousand have even been tested for safety, and that's for a single ingredient. Now, if you look at many products, what you'll see is there's a long list. Have you noticed that long list of ingredients? So it's the combination of those ingredients could actually be into the millions. So these are things that our body, this is not our natural environment. These things are not natural to us. And so they're creating kind of like, you know, if everybody was wearing headphones and nobody could hear each other, kind of like that. That's what our cells are not able to communicate. And so in other words, it blocks the receptors, the cell receptors. That's what toxins are doing to us. So we want to really work on getting rid of as many chemicals from our lives as we possibly can. And what's so beautiful is there are so many things that we can do that are more effective and completely natural and non-toxic, and there's no harm to human life, to animal life, or the planet. And that's when we use things like essential oils, plant-based products that help us replace those chemical products and do so in a way that lowers our toxin load. So when our toxin load gets lowered, that helps our immune system to be able to communicate better. But there's more. So what are those kinds of things? Well, this is where you hear a lot of things. A lot of people talk about detoxing, right? Detoxing has been a real common topic for a lot of people. One of the things that I will say that a lot of people don't realize is that, you know, when you go to, let's say, the grocery store or the health food store, or you get something that's, you know, an advertisement, or maybe it's a Facebook ad or whatever, and it was like, you know, 3-day detox, 7-day detox. That's not how detoxing works. Those are a waste of time and money, and don't detox anything. The way you truly do a detox is something that takes months. You see, we don't accumulate toxins overnight, and we're not going to get rid of them overnight. But there are some really great ways, and if you want help with that, be sure to go to alternacare.org, and if you want, we can help you. We'll do some health coaching, and we can help you with that, because that is definitely something that we've done a lot of research on this topic and have seen some amazing results and amazing technologies and systems that help in the detoxing process. But please just know that it's not as simple as it would seem, or as we would hope it would be, as if we can just check and get it, you know, get that task over. It's definitely not only reducing the toxin load, but then not replacing it. Those are two really important components to a detox. But then it's also implementing the things that help the body shed the toxin load and to shed what the toxins hide. Now, this is something that I came across recently, and I was just amazed by this because it made so much sense. And anyways, and that is the fact that, have you ever heard of how antifreeze, for example, the reason why antifreeze will kill a dog, because it tastes sweet to the dog. Have you ever heard that? Right? Sure, many of you have. Some haven't, but I think most of us have heard that. And this is what was so interesting to me, is I recently found out that in our body, toxins also, like the antifreeze, are sweet to our microbiome. That just threw me off. I really didn't even think, you think of toxins like a poison, but actually it is a hazard to the cells. Like the body doesn't know quite where to put it. So it, like, for instance, stores it in fat cells, and it holds water and fat to try to protect us because it can't always get rid of it. But the other part here is that it's sweet. So the way that you help the body be able to remove the toxins is by introducing bitters. Now, that was something for me that was real interesting because, you know, for instance, maybe, have you ever heard of a coffee enema? Now, I personally am not a coffee drinker. I don't like bitter, okay? But this coffee enema, if you do some research on these, what you will find is that they're a really great way to detox the liver, and the liver is core, just like the colon is, to a detox protocol. So let me just start with just saying that whenever you detox, you have to work from the bottom up. So the first organ to detox is the colon. And then you can do the liver, gallbladder, and kidneys, and you can keep working up. So these are all filters, okay? And, you know, if a car has an air filter, let me get the fingers up here, air filter, oil filter, and fuel filter. So when the filters are plugged in our car, what's our car's performance? Definitely not what it would be if it were in optimum performance, right? If everything was clean. So we have filters too. We have the liver, we have the lungs, right? And we have the kidneys. Those are three specific. We have more filters than that, but those are three really specific livers. It's really important for us to keep clean. And so the way that we would do that is doing something like a liver detox. First clean the colon, and then start working on the liver through this coffee. Now, the coffee is the bitter. It's the bitter that the toxins don't like. And thus, it helps the body know how to identify and be able to push out the toxins. So just really fascinating information. Just so many nice little ways that we can live a prevention lifestyle so that we don't live a consequence lifestyle. That's really what we want to talk about here, is not living consequence. Living prevention, not prescription. Living prevention, not consequence. I found the healthcare system to be dysfunctional, disconnected, dishonest, and even deceitful. And I know that that probably sounds a little surprising to you, because most people, they think of doctors as, great people. And it's not the doctors. It's the system I'm talking about. I'm not talking about individuals. Many, many beautiful individuals are in the health space, and they're saving lives all the time. It's not that part that I'm referring to, but it's the way the system is set up to keep us undereducated, to keep us coming, because that's where the money's being made. And unfortunately, there's a lot of money being made, and the more money that's being made, the more integrity that's being lost. You see, it's things that are so simple. For example, just to illustrate this point, when I was diagnosed, one of the things that I did was I read a book. I highly recommend you read it. It's called The Yeast Connection. And it helped me to understand that in our body, we have these microorganisms called yeast that are there when we die to help us decompose. That's their place. Now, what I found is that when we do things like take antibiotics or birth control or have a high stress life or have chlorinated water, there are a lot of things that will actually create a disruption or an imbalance in our gut, so that now we don't have the immune system. So we're back to that walled city. So our walls are down, our gates are open, and then things like a health crisis can happen. So it doesn't matter if it's a 2020 coronavirus or if it's a autoimmune diagnosis. All of these things are happening because the microbiome in the gut is imbalanced, disrupted, and not working. So if it's not working and it's not communicating, then we are really left vulnerable, right? So this is why we want to make sure, and we're here for you. We're here to empower you, to educate, to enlighten, to empower you, so that you know how to be your own advocate. So you know how to live a prevention lifestyle so that you can live in charge of your health, in charge of your wealth, your finances, because, I don't know if you know this or not, but statistically, the number one cause of financial ruin for people, any guess on what that is? The number one cause of financial ruin, it's medical debt. So when I said earlier about the healthcare system being deceitful and dishonest and dysfunctional and disconnected, well, it's because there's just all this money that can be made when people don't understand how to keep themselves healthy, how to put themselves in an optimum place of wellness so that illness is the result. And so, again, let me quantify. There are many people that are in the space of saving lives, and we love them and are thankful that they are there doing what they do. That's not who we're talking about. What we're talking about are the people that are way up at the top, that are making decisions for profits instead of for people. And so you can Google that anytime you want. You can look and you can see on Wall Street what Wall Street says about curing disease. There was an article a few months ago that was just out that said that they can't afford to cure disease. Does that tell you where the problem is? If you can't afford to cure disease, then your model is based on the wrong model, right? And that's the reason why you can take your power back, though. See, that's why we want to be here to help you know that your advocate here is us at Living Prevention TV and at the Alternate Care Foundation. We are here for you because we want to make sure that you have the truth distilled. You see, there's a lot of misinformation, right? A lot of things that are told to us by even authorities that we seem to think, well, they're trustworthy sources. But if you dig a little deeper, what you'll find is there's a lot of money shifting hands between organizations, and the integrity is lost once again. So, but our position here is to be an advocate for you. We're not here to sell you anything, right? We're just here to disseminate truth, to empower you to realize that you don't have to be paralyzed by, I don't know where to start. get a hold of us. We'll help you know where to start. You don't have to feel like, it's too much and I can't do this. You can absolutely do this. We want to help you do this. And you can also just know that we're on your side. See, we're here to help you distill through all the confusion and to build a body of knowledge so that you can find wellness, not illness, as your destination and optimum quality of life. So I wanted to point out here that at alternacare.org, you can take a look at what we're doing. If you go to alternacare.org and see the webinar, what you'll see is how that we want to rally together people who are really interested in social change, who really see that there's got to be something better than what we have right now. I think we deserve better. I think we deserve a better system where people who really are in the space for helping people get well and stay well, I think that it's time we rally together. Don't you agree? And so by membership at alternacare.org, or you can go to alternacare.org/webinar, you'll be able to see what it is, what our vision is, what our mission is, and how we want to reinvent health by making sure you know what health really is, reinventing health care by making sure that you understand the kinds of healthcare that actually promote wellness instead of compromising our immune system, the way I found many years ago. And then to reinvent health insurance. That's really the thing that so many people are like, what? Yes, there is a way that we can do this together. And that's where, again, part of this advocacy is coming in, where I'm here to help you know how to do all of those things. And we've got this. We've got this. So anyways, so I just wanted to, again, talk a little bit about how, we can turn tragedy into a triumph, how we can turn adversity into opportunity. And so that's how, my journey, shall we say, through terminal cancer, and then to become this health advocate, why I'm here and why I'm so passionate, because I just want to make sure that the legacy that I leave my children, and that of is that of a humanitarian who just really took a lot of powerful lessons and paid that forward in a meaningful way. And so, I sat many years trying to figure out, and I'm so thankful now that we have things like social media where you can connect and we can engage. Anyways, but I just wanted to really share with you that I know fear is really rampant right now. And right next to fear, the ugly neighbor to fear, is confusion. But if I can help you not be confused and not be in fear, because you understand how your body works, to be in a position, to be in a place where you're not immune compromised, where your immune system is strong, where it's doing exactly what it was designed to do, which is to not only keep us alive, but to help us thrive. That is the purpose of what this show and this community are all about. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a real honor to have you with me. I know time is precious, and I respect your time and want to make sure that I give you some food for thought and some peace in your heart, and give you some knowledge for your brain, and just know that it's going to be okay. Things are going to be okay as long as you take action. Don't be complacent and leave yourself in a place of compromise. Get informed, get educated, and get enlightened. Have a great day.